Alright, so this is a calculator strategy for the exponents. This is for you to check your work. It doesn't require a lot of math or thinking, but you have to follow the steps. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to New Document. You're going to go to the calculator. From there, the first thing we're going to do is store a number for each variable. So I say the word store, but I write STO because that's the button on your calculator. Store, and that's what you call that. So you're going to store a number. And the number that you start with 3. Because 3 is the first non-special number. 1 is a special number, and it has special properties. 2 is a special number, 0 is a special number, but 3 is the first smallest non-special number. So you start with 3. So it depends on how many letters you have, because you're going to store a number for each letter, each variable. So if you have one variable, you just need to store 3 for that variable. If you have 2 numbers, then you store 3, you store 4. If you have 5 letters, you store a number for each variable. So for example, if you have just one variable and it's x, you store 3 as x. But if you have more than that, let's say you have 2 variables, you could store 3 as a, 4 as b. If you have 3 variables, then you're going to use the numbers 3, 4, and 5. That could be z, that could be w, and that could be y, for example. Does that make sense? It just depends on how many variables you have. If you have however many variables you have, that's how many times you have to store for each one. If you just have one variable, one letter, you just store one time. That's the first step. Okay? Don't skip that step, because then it's like the rest of it doesn't work. What? Yeah, that's a B. So then after you store them in, you're going to type in whatever's in the problem exactly as it's written. You can't change anything. Don't do anything weird with it. That's what it is. And then you're going to type in, you're going to check answers. And what you're looking for is you're going to get a number. Once you type this in, you're going to press enter, you're going to get some number. Then you're checking the answer that's the exact same number that you got. Alright, and so we're going to do an example. So as I'm doing the example, you can in class raise your hand if I'm going too fast or you need me to repeat the step. If you're watching live, then you can just pause it. Or not live, but you know, online. Yeah, you can just pause it and go back. But in class, you make sure you stop me so that when I walk to your desk, you should not have nothing like where you haven't done anything. Just I'll show you. So it depends on how many letters you have. So I think someone's. So if you look at this one, how many letters do you have on the first one?
3.
So then you store 3 as the first number, 4 as the next number, 5 as the next number. On this one, how many letters do you have?
3.
So you do 3 different ones. But look at this one, how many letters do you have?
2.
Just 1, because it's x and x.
Oh.
So then you just store 1 of those, because 1 number for those. So let's look at this one. It has 3 letters, like he just said. So we need to store a number for each of those letters. So you're going to go to New Document. New Document. New Document. You want to erase everything that's there because you don't want to mess up. So don't save it. Start always new when you do these kinds of problems. So he said we have 3 letters, A, B, C. So for each of those letters, I'm going to store a number. The first number that I store is number 3 because it's the first non-special number. So 3. And then I store it. To store, I press Control bar, Control store. It has a store right above it. Store is right next to delete above the number 9. So Control store. And it's going to do an arrow. And I store it as the first letter. What's the first letter? A. Enter. Then the next number after 3 is number 4. So I store that one as the next letter, which is B. Control store. That's B, letter B. Press enter each time. And then I'm going to do C now. And C after the number 4 is number 5. So I'm going to store it, Control store. As C, letter C. Press enter. So I've stored each number, starting with 3 for each letter. If I only had one letter like A, I would have stopped there. If I had 2 letters, I would have stopped there. Does that make sense? If I had a 4th letter, I would do another time, and a 5th letter. So that's the first step. Make sure you delete everything, make sure you store. And then I'm going to type in the one in the problem. You have to type it in exactly as it is. If it says past parentheses, if it has a negative, type it in exactly as it is. So this is a fraction, so I'm going to write as a fraction. So, oops. Press Control, divide. So then I've got my fraction, and I'm going to type it in. 14. Do you know how to get the little number 4 at the top? Yeah. It's the caret button. It's right underneath. There's the equal sign. It's right underneath the equal sign. That caret button lets you type in anything as an exponent. The one next to it is just where it's a square, just the number 2. This is where it'll let you type in anything. So it's 14A. So type in the letter A. The caret to the 4. Move it over because you don't want to write the rest of it as an exponent. It needs to be exactly as it is. So I press this button, and it's B, letter B, to the power of 6, arrow C, to the power of negative 10. The negative is the white one. The other one, the minus, is the black button. So it looks just like my problem. So now I do the denominator. The denominator is 8. A caret negative 2. B caret, oh, no. See how that does not look like the problem? See how I messed up? So you can just delete it. Arrow B caret, was it 3? Arrow C caret negative 5. So that, whatever I'm going to get, this is, if I were to replace all of these letters with those numbers, that's what my answer would be. So what you need to do now to know which one is the correct answer, this is already simplified for you. Instead of you doing it yourself and writing out the A's, writing out the B's, they've simplified. So you're going to type in each answer choice to see which one gives you this same amount. Does that make sense? So you type in F. And so type in F, caret 2B, caret 3 over 4, and then C, caret 15. Make sure it's the same thing. It is. Press enter. Those don't give you the same amount. So that would not be the correct answer. Then you type in G, you type in H, type in J until you get the same one as the problem.